Will Lawson III.
The third, yeah.
Will Lawson III.
Third.
Yeah.
Shout out to the first and second.
Shout out to the first and second. Wouldn't be here without him, man.
Wouldn't be here without him.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
Where are you from?
Originally from Fostoria, Ohio.
Okay.
Super small, diverse town.
Yeah.
Blue collar.
Yeah, man. We played him.
Ohio.
I think we played him in basketball a couple times.
Did you really?
Yeah, we would go up there and play. We were in like that Northwest district for basketball in high school, so like Perrysburg, Anthony Wayne, like all that. And we played a couple shootouts, I think, at Fostoria.
Yeah. So what year did you graduate high school?
I was a 12th grad.
12.
Yeah.
Okay. So
What were you?
I was 15.
Okay. Yeah.
Something at 12. A couple years older. You would have been like early. I think the prime days for us in like sports.
Dude, they were good.
Like,
I mean, they were legit.
Probably your freshman, sophomore year, maybe, because Micah Hyde was still there, probably, if I have my years right.
Yep, he was.
So, I mean, those guys were just
they were studs.
Athletes.
Yeah, they were studs.
You know?
Yeah, they made us
just go out and play.
They made us look pretty stupid. I'll be honest.
They just do whatever they wanted to, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Athleticism just took.
We did not. We did not belong on the same. We didn't belong on the same court as them.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Fostoria, and then how'd you find your way down here?
Fostoria, I actually, switched high schools. I went to Liberty Benton High School.
Okay.
And
Aaron Craft.
I think you know.
Brandon May. Yeah. Played football with Brandon in college.
So went there for high school. After that, I came down to Columbus to go to Ohio State.
Yeah.
I had a sister that went to Ohio State. Just kind of followed her down here. For me, it was like Ohio State or
bust.
Yeah. You know? I was like, I'm either going to go to like North Carolina or Ohio State.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I toured a couple colleges to run track. So I went down to like Louisville, and that was just going to be like more like a walk-on type of deal. Hillsdale up in Michigan. I was in talks with like Eastern Michigan. Ultimately decided just to go to school, you know. Kind of wanted to focus on that. I've been playing sports my whole life.
Yeah.
And again, it was like a last-minute decision. It was last minute for me to even think about playing a sport in college. I was kind of a late bloomer. Where I had decent athleticism, but it was the end of my track season, my junior year, where I was starting to make these huge jumps.
Yeah, so you didn't look like this all the time?
I was a small guy.
Yeah, you're skinny.
I don't think I hit. I'm like almost 185. Sometimes I can push up to 190 if I'm really hitting it.
Yeah.
But I think the most I ever weighed in high school was like 170.
Yeah.
You know,
I graduated like 210, I think.
Yeah.
I think I'm taller, but dude, and I was not good weight though. I was just like, just like flabby, you know. Good athlete. But you don't have any muscle. It's high school, right?
I mean, I didn't take really lifting seriously until going into my senior year.
Same.
Didn't play football until junior year.
Yeah.
And it was football that made me think I gotta get bigger.
Yeah.
I gotta get stronger, be able to hold my own. And I think I worked up to like 172 with my max senior year of high school, and I'm only like 5'9".
Yeah.
Probably 5'8".
Yeah, on a good day.
On a good day. So I was like, I gotta get bigger. But yeah, so I came down here for school. I've pretty much been here ever since.
What'd you end up getting your degree in then?
Exercise science.
Yeah.
But it was a journey getting there, dude. It was like the classic
What'd you start
story.
out?
Engineering.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what my brother ended up getting his degree from Ohio State in engineering.
Yeah.
Good decision, dude. He struggled.
It was brutal. It really is, and they kind of do that on purpose, honestly. And I was like undecided engineering. It was one of those things like people just told me I should go be an engineer.
You're like, oh yeah, that'll be a good wage, job security.
You're like, just work hard for 4 years, and then just take it easy the rest of your life, basically.
Yeah.
That was like the mentality I tried to go into it with, and I kind of had the realization. I remember I took my last exam, my second semester, freshman year, walked back to the dorms, and I just sat on like the lounge couch, and I was just like, I hated every second of that. Like every second of this past semester I hated. Yeah. So I was like, I got to figure something out.
Dude, it's so funny to hear that because my brother would call me after exams and stuff, and he'd just be like so defeated. I've never heard him so defeated until that point and after the fact.
Yeah.
Like, Nick, this is not healthy, whatever you're going through. But I was proud of him. He ultimately got through it. But he's not even using that degree. So
that's the thing. Most people don't.
No.
The surprising thing, I didn't meet a good group of kids in engineering until after I decided to not go into engineering. So I bounced around a ton.
Yeah.
My next plan was to like get a business degree, but take prereqs for physical therapy school, so that when I came out and was a physical therapist, I kind of had some business background to eventually open up my own practice. Yeah. Kind of like what Affiliate does here.
We're sitting in.
This was kind of what I ideally wanted to do with physical therapy. And then, I was shadowing, and it was like, one of those larger health organizations kind of. Yeah. Physical therapy groups, and it just didn't seem like what I wanted to do. So last minute, I found exercise science, thankfully, like something I enjoyed learning about, and could like actively apply through school, like working out on my own. Yep. But then again, as shadowing like PT, it was like, I'm not fully invested in this, and it's such a big financial decision to be like, all right, I'm going to go into over $100,000 in debt. Yeah. And not being dead set on it. That's huge.
I don't know if you saw, I did an interview with a physical therapist, and one of the first ones that we did, months ago. And like he and I talked about that, like they're in such a tough place. Mm-hmm. Like they're expected to do this incredible work and get these people back on their feet, but they're not getting reimbursed maybe, appropriately anymore, or it's going down. And at the same time, like, schools only get more expensive. Yeah. So it's like, it's a tough pull. You got to do it because you love it. Mm-hmm. So like, it's a good thing that you figured out early that wasn't your, calling, I guess. But, right. Yeah. Yeah. So you ended up going to Ohio State for school. You didn't end up, going to play sports or anything. Did you miss that?
Yeah. 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 That was a struggle for sure. Yeah. Because you always have that kind of aspect of competitiveness. Yeah. And that was just gone. Like, I didn't find that right away. I couldn't fill that void. And I remember, again, it was like towards the end of freshman year, and what do kids in college do, right? They go to class, and they play intramurals, and what are they doing? They're going out on the weekends, have fun, kind of experiencing that. But at the end of the day, it was like, I have this itch, and like, I need to figure it out. Yeah. So like, we would do intramurals, but for the longest time, like, that was like my only physical activity was like doing intramurals. And I would go to the gym. I think I went like a handful of times that entire year. Yeah. So it took me until sophomore year, but really started hitting the weights again junior year. Yeah. And that's kind of what filled the void.
Where were you doing it at? Were you coming here, or were you?
No, at that point I was going to like RPAC.
Yeah. So brutal. So
J.O.
brutal.
South, if you went there.
I've been to all of them.
They opened that new rec center. We always called it, my friends called it Stinton's. I don't know why.
That one I've not been to.
It's not actually called Stinton's. Yeah. It was like an inside joke. It's like NRC, North Rec Center or something like that. Yeah. Just a boring name. So we called it Stinson's Gym. And that was right next to our dorm, so it was just convenient. Yeah. But again, it was just like bro lifting, kind of like trying to get big. Yeah. Bodybuilding stuff, some strength stuff. But that's essentially what kind of felt like I was just challenging myself. Like, I'm going to set these goals. I want to hit these weights. Like, that kind of filled the void a little bit of that competitive edge. And then that was through college. Then once I graduated, I kind of got bored of that. Yeah. At that point, again, decided not to pursue physical therapy. I was working 3 days a week as a tech at the hospital at OSU. And it was kind of nice at first, where I had like 4 days to do whatever I wanted. Yeah. And I was working night shift, so I would go to the pool and just hang out.
Dude,
chill.
I can't even imagine. I don't know what I would do. Like, I've never had that period in my life where I'm like, oh yeah, I could just.
That's why I was like, I got to figure something else out. I got to pick up, another hobby or another job or something. So I started I have a degree in exercise science. I'm not really using it. Like, let me see if there's job positions at gyms. Yeah. And I was looking at the different gyms, just regular lifting gyms in Columbus. My brother-in-law was actually working out at CrossFit Grandview. Okay. So that's kind of how I heard about this place. And I just reached out to the manager at that time because it said like, hey, we're hiring if you want to work. Just front desk staff. It's like $12 an hour, I think it was at the time, and a free membership. And I'm like, all right, sweet. Yeah. Let me check it out. Let me hit them up. And they brought me in just to meet the manager and talk and see what my schedule was like. And I found out Allie Duckworth, who was a coach and a competitor here at that time.
When was that?
This was late summer, early fall 2019.
Okay, I was just saying, because you and I think, showed up here probably right around the same time, because I was in COVID.
Yeah.
Like, it was COVID for me, because it was my third year of medical school. I started coming up here, and, you know, I talked about with Brandon a little bit. It was like, I had to have that, like, transition earlier, I guess, than you did. You know, you came out of high school and was like, okay, athletics is kind of done, competitive athletics. It's like, I got to string that along 5 more years playing at the college level, but then the second that, like, college football is done, it was like, all right, how do I get that competitive itch? Like, how do I get rid of that? And so for me, it's like, I went from a college locker room to the, you know, medical school auditorium. I'm like, this sucks.
It's like it's almost a completely different end of the
total
spectrum.
180.
You know,
like the common interest and everything, like I had with all these people in the locker room. All of a sudden, it's like, I have common interest with people in medicine, but it's like, you're going to put me in a lecture hall with 200, you know, medical-minded people, where I've just been sitting in a locker room with 200, you know, jocks for 5 years. And so it's different. Like, it's so different. And then, you know, you still have to find a way to itch that competitive, you know, spirit. And so I was the same way. I was like, those first 2 years of medical school were tough. And then when I got up here in Columbus, you know, that's, I think when you and I met was here at the gym at CrossFit Grandview. It was like right around the same time, because it was COVID hit. We weren't allowed to go to the gym. I was stuck in the house here in Columbus doing like virtual rotations and stuff. And then I remember reaching out to Brandon and being like, hey, you know, it looks like you're one of the only gyms that's, you know, going to be opening here. The CrossFit boxes, you know, you could do the spaced workouts. And so it wasn't like the Globo gyms where you go and it's like everybody's on a machine right next to each other. And that was a way for me, because, like, unlike you, like, I don't know when you started doing CrossFit, but, you know, I wouldn't even call myself a CrossFitter. It's like I do, you know, the interval stuff because it's efficient. But, like, I'm not nearly to the level you are. Like, you're legit. And I would remember coming in here, though, and just being like, oh, well, I could do this because we're spaced out. It makes sense.
You have room.
So I wonder if I had ever gotten into that and been able to find that, because it was the same thing you were talking about earlier. Like, you start looking at the weights and, like, the times, and, like, you're competing against yourself. It's like, I don't know if I ever would have found that stuff if I hadn't started, like, collecting barbells and free weights during the lockdown. It's kind of weird how, you know, you find your way into this.
And I think COVID was huge, because, again, I started just a little bit before COVID. But it took me, it's funny you say that, it took me a while to be like, all right, I'm a CrossFitter.
Exactly. It's like, people say it to me at work,
CrossFit?
too. Like, it's like, people are like, oh, yeah, like, I see the workouts you post. Like, even at the hospital, like, I'll be in the OR and people will make that comment. And I'm like, yeah, I do adjacent things, and it's like, I don't walk around on my hands 24/7. Like, I can't do that. Like,
I mean, you know, it just, like, some people, like, take it like such a negative connotation, you know, and
and part of it is, like, the community has done it to themselves. Like,
in a way,
there's stuff that I see and I'm like, oh. That's the most cringeworthy thing I've ever seen.
Like you said, you know, the community, it's like, once you get here, you kind of understand a little bit. I can see, and I had the same viewpoint for a longest time, where I'm like, from the outside looking in, you're kind of just like a little skeptical. It's super, almost intimidating. And once you get in there and you start to get a feel for it, you know.
Like, you walk in here and, like, I pop down here, maybe once every 2 months or so now that I've been up in Cleveland. But, like, whenever I come back down to Columbus, I look forward to walking in here. And I walk in here and, like, the energy is just different. Like, it's different than anything I've found up there. And obviously I haven't looked around a ton up there because I'm so busy. But it's like, I get down here and I walk in here and I'm like, man, I miss,
feels good.
Like, I miss the team and the community down here for sure.
Well, like, you know, coming off sports.
And that's at barbell and CrossFit. Like, it's both.
Both sides.
Both sides of it,
super nice that we have them kind of together now. Before it was separate, 2 different buildings, but having it all under one roof has been huge for members to kind of get a little taste of both.
I guess talk about that a little bit. Just, we didn't even talk about, like, where we are, we're sitting in right now. So, like, you started working here, you got the shirt on.
I get the shirt on, you know, just help out here when I can. With being so busy with school. So right now we're in the affiliate physical therapy section of CrossFit Grandview. So it's kind of like this private physical therapy group that's loosely associated with CrossFit Grandview, a couple other gyms in the area, and
shout out Brandon Cowden.
Yes, shout out Brandon, Kate.
Those two are like a power couple to the max, man. Yeah. They have put together something really cool down here, and so like I know I always appreciate them letting me come in here.
I appreciate everything they've done for me, allowing me to be a part, of what they've built, and a very small role, but still, but especially with me being gone a lot. It allowed me to jump right back into things when I had the time to. Yeah. So it's a great community. Honestly, one of the best gyms in Ohio for sure. Yeah. And I'm a little biased.
I don't know. I've bounced around places anywhere I go. Like it's one of those things. Me and my buddies we pop into places. And it's like you just don't. I don't know. Even when you look online, like you don't see the reviews, and like you don't see maybe on social media the same talk, out there about a place like this one does.
Yeah, and I think, a lot of places they open a gym and they just kind of like let it be. Yep. Right? But, Brandon and Kate care, you can tell.
It's a top
they care. They invest so heavily into their gym, into their community. They're constantly hosting different events to try to keep people engaged and active in their membership. Yeah. Whether it be challenges, we have like quarterly gym parties, basically, is what they are. There's a Christmas party, there's a football watch party after the open party, and we have a summer social coming up.
Gotcha.
Here literally in like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So no, a week from now. Yeah. I think it's next week. So they are just super, super active. Again, they care about what they do. Yeah. And you can tell they're here almost every day.
Yeah. No, I always see whenever I'm down here.
They have little kids now too.
I know Brandon's like jacked to be at his son's baseball games this weekend.
I was talking to him about it yesterday, and like they're in their tournament now. So they said they won a couple games already, and they're like halfway through the tournament, like playing well. Like a couple more games, they'll win the whole thing. So super pumped about that. But again, like just this place, it's a special place, and people enjoy being here, whether you're your everyday CrossFitter, everyday exerciser, up to competitive athletes. We're everyone's welcome.
I think that's the big thing too. Like I think that was a huge thing for me in medicine, and like I'm sure we've kind of talked about it a little bit, is just the ability to make people feel welcome in the fitness space, and like what that can do for people preventing chronic disease. And like I've harped on this a lot. And it's like as an orthopedic surgeon, I see the end effects of a lot of things. Like sports injuries happen. You could be in the best shape of your life and still end up with a torn meniscus or ACL, right? But like at the same time, the degenerative stuff, some of that's very much preventative medicine, could keep you from your knee replacement one day or whatever it is. And it's like, I would love to see people be able to keep weight off and eat healthier and do all these things. And it's like, I feel like the surgeon has a role, but at the same time, like if you can maybe get into this space and have a passion for this space, like you can help people through the full spectrum, not just see them at the end of the line. So that's been a big thing for me, and my own interests. Like obviously, if you're an orthopedic surgeon who has no interest in this stuff, it's tough for you to, I guess, get involved in that part of things. But for me, I do want to kind of help patients all the way along that path. And so like somewhere like this and something like this has always been an inspiration for me, because that's ultimately what I want to see and build myself as. And so with that being said, I always joke with you about, we haven't even touched on what you do.
Right.
But as a physician's assistant, I'm like, you got to find somebody who's on the same wavelength. And I always joke with you about coming and working with me when I'm done and everything. But like, I'm dead serious, because like, I think we could have something like this. So go ahead and touch on that. Like, you've went through, you gotten through Ohio State, you got an exercise science degree, which in hindsight, it's what I wish I had done. I went and got a biochem degree, adjacent, like we talk about some of the same things, but at the same time, it's like so much more scientific in nature rather than real life, real world application. So for me, I come out, I have this degree, I know I'm doing it as a means to get to an end, which is medical school, and then getting to where I am now. But like, I saw people who had exercise science degrees and still went to medical school, and I'm like, if I knew about that, I would have been able to, not the time wasted, but I would have learned a lot of the stuff that I know or would have done my self-study on now. I could have just learned it during college and then still gotten to where I am. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what I liked about it, was the ability to apply what I was learning right then and there into
to real life stuff.
Real life, fitness and exercise.
Yeah. So you graduated from Ohio State.
And then again, thought about going to PT school.
Yeah.
Ended up not doing it. Went to work for OSU Sports Medicine after being a tech. That kind of got me in the door to orthopedics and sports medicine. I saw that position. I didn't know what it was. Decided to jump in there. Before that, had no real exposure to what a PA was, really. I predominantly had seen nurse practitioners in the hospital system at OSU. And at outpatient, Jamison Crane, right there on campus, the north end of campus, they primarily had PAs, physician assistants. And, over the course, that was when COVID happened, right? So everything's locked down, and I'm like, all right, what exactly am I going to do for a career?
Yeah.
I was trying to figure it out, and that was more of an administrative role, but I was like pretty connected with the clinic.
Yeah.
I was the person that kind of went back and forth between administration and clinic, kind of just helping out with whatever patients needed.
Okay.
A little bit of everything, whether it was like scheduling registration, going back and forth with imaging.
Yeah.
We had a walk-in clinic that I kind of helped triage patients for.
Okay.
But just getting to know those physician assistants kind of got me thinking like, I could do this.
Yeah.
This is like a nice balance, right? I could see myself in a position where I could help out in that full spectrum of health, right? So the background in exercise science, right? That can be part of the preventive aspect.
Yep.
And then being a PA, I can work in an orthopedic setting also.
Yeah.
In which, someone unfortunately is injured. I can help them get back on the right path. Also, maybe implement some other lifestyle factors to help them out, in their overall well-being.
Yeah.
So again, I was there for, I think, 2 years in total time. And, about halfway through, I was like, all right, I'm gonna try to go to PA school. I had to take a couple prereqs. I think like OChem. I think I avoided like the plague during undergrad.
Yep.
So I had to take OChem. Like genetics.
I remember you talking to me about OChem at one point too.
Yeah.
Just like a brief conversation, but we were here and I was asking you how things were going because I knew you were heading that route now and you were applying and everything. And you're like, OChem was very brutal. I was like, it's not cool. What's going on there?
Good den.
What's going on there?
Well then.
Yeah. Wow. Showing life on that.
Right.
No.
Shout out GoPro.
Yeah.
But OChem actually, I was lucky because I think I was only taking one other class at the time. And it ended up going well. I think I had actually an A in it.
Okay.
Like I did well, but it was still difficult. It's hard.
Nice.
I think I had a small class.
Yeah.
I didn't like win.
That helps.
And having a smaller class definitely helped.
Where'd you end up taking it at?
It was at OSU.
Okay. Because that's rare.
Yeah.
Like that's the problem at OSU.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I think I did end up liking it more than Gen Chem though. Mm-hmm. Surprisingly, like you hear that some people like OChem more than Gen Chem and vice versa. It could be the other way, but it was tough.
I like OChem.
You like OChem more?
Yeah.
So and I was working full time. At that point, I was trying to get into CrossFit more, and then taking classes. To go back to PA school. Ended up applying. I think I only applied to 4 schools right away.
Yeah.
It was Ohio University, and primarily because it was actually in Dublin.
Yep.
So I could stay in Columbus.
Yep.
It's actually one of the cheapest schools in Ohio.
I really wanted and was hoping to stay at that OU Dublin campus for medical school too, and ultimately didn't end up happening. But
it would have been nice, right?
It would have been really nice. Yeah.
It would have been nice.
Yeah.
I think Ohio Dominican, Grand Valley State, and then Baldwin-Wallace were the 4 that I applied to. Again, I was pulling for the Columbus ones, ODU and OU. And ended up getting an interview for OU as the first school I interviewed at, and I got accepted.
Yeah.
Like, I think literally they called me the same day of my interview.
Yeah.
And offered me a seat. So I was like, all right, cool. That's pretty much it. That was easy. Went to PA school for the next, so started in January of 2022.
Yeah.
27-month program. Tried my darndest to stay fit as much as I could through that.
It's tough, man.
Which was pretty hard at times, but it was.
I think you did okay. I think you did okay.
Yeah. My goal was to try to keep a solid baseline. Right?
Yeah.
I didn't expect to like be super competitive through school.
That was my thought too, is because like I got to a point where I was like borderline competitive in some stuff, and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna get to residency, and now residency is just like hemostasis. Like I just gotta at least keep a baseline here, and then maybe if ever I get to a good spot in my life where I can kick it up again. But by then I'm gonna be too old. So
No.
Yeah.
No, man, never too old.